Our first inductee this evening is an individual who's the all-time leading scorer for women's basketball and helped the softball team to 2 NIAC titles in 1987 and 1989. Please join me in celebrating Leanne Lebrun Dineen.
She catapulted, I think, in particular the softball program. Leanne was an impressive pitcher, and clearly our standings every year kind of reflected just how good she was, because she really was the leader on the mound. You can just tell she was always thinking. She was a really smart pitcher, too. I have to say, she kind of freaked me out when I first got there because, boy, she was throwing pretty hard. And she was very committed to softball and the program and really wanted it to excel. It was only, I think, about 5 years in. Leanne was a turnkey person in really propelling softball at Trinity. She was incredibly hardworking, no matter how much pain she was in, and she was sometimes in pain with, I believe, her neck and her back at times. She would go out there. It wasn't even a question. She wanted the ball. Really, because of her, I think, in her pitching, we were able to really pull a cohesive team together, and Leanne led us to several championships. And that 1,000th point that she shot, she had perfect form, came right off the tip of her fingers, and it was just like any other shot. You know, she was there, and in fact, and when she got it, she wanted everyone to quickly move on, even though they did stop the game and honor her 1,000th point. I mean, just like Leanne, she's just like, let's go, we've got a game to play here. Did not like the spotlight, was really, grateful for her teammates, obviously, for helping her get there, but most important is, 1,000 points, that's not easy to do, especially with the abbreviated seasons that we had. We didn't play nearly as many games back then as the women do now in softball and basketball. So her achievement really stands out to me. She was pretty committed to her craft and worked really hard at it.
So yesterday when I found out that I was speaking first, I was pretty nervous because I don't really speak in front of people that are grown-ups. I'm an elementary school teacher. But anyways, I was never a leadoff hitter, and so when I told my husband yesterday that I was first, he said, you don't have to hit a home run, you just have to get on base. And then my son said, actually, you can just get a walk. So trying to make me feel a little better. So. It's an incredible honor to be standing here tonight and to be recognized among such an amazing group of athletes and coaches who've made significant contributions to Trinity Athletics. Congratulations to all of you. I'd like to start by thanking those that had a part in my being here right now, to Drew and to Brenna and to the Hall of Fame committee for supporting my nomination to be inducted tonight. Thank you to my parents, who are my biggest fans, who I wish could be here tonight, but I know they're watching proudly from above. And my siblings, all of them came and surprised me here tonight. So my 2 older sisters were also athletes and were huge in cheering me on. And then I have 3 brothers, and in birth order, I was between my brothers. So I was always included in their games and had my share of bruises and stitches and black eyes. But I probably wouldn't have become the competitor that I became without you guys, so thank you. Thank you to my husband, Jerry, and my 2 sons, Brett and Charlie, and to my daughter, Megan, her husband, Sean. Thank you for all making the effort to be here to celebrate this night and weekend together. I love you guys. Thank you to Rick Hazelton. He's here, I think, somewhere. Hi, Rick. The athletic director at the time I was at Trinity, and my coaches who believed in my potential and pushed me to be the athlete that I became. Unfortunately, none of them are still coaching at Trinity. Is Don Miller here tonight? So for those of you that don't know Don Miller, he's a legendary, incredibly successful Trinity football coach, and he was also our first softball coach. I'm not sure he volunteered for that position, but he was our coach. He was used to coaching tough football players, and I think it was a little awkward for him to be coaching women, and he used to actually, I think he was surprised by our grit and determination and competitiveness. And I can still picture him in his sweatsuit with the towel rolled up, tucked into the top of his sweatsuit. I remember that we often laughed about it, that in practices he never wanted us to run at full speed for some reason. He'd give us these random fractions of how fast he wanted us to run, like 5/10 ladies, 6/15. And then he'd, okay ladies, we're gonna bring it up to 7/8 speed. We loved him, but he was totally baffled by us, I think. And lastly, thank you to the most important part of my Trinity experience, my teammates and lifelong friends. Thank you, Robin Silver-Grace, for nominating me to be standing here tonight, and to Karen Farquhar-Packard for being here to celebrate and support me, and to Kathy Ennis, who couldn't be here tonight, and Lisa Banks, who was my catcher. I consider myself so fortunate to have competed in the time that I did. It was long before strength and conditioning coaches were working with athletes the way they do, before dynamic stretching was even a thing, before teams traveled by coach bus in serious Trinity swag, and before taking a semester abroad would be nearly impossible for an athlete. And by the way, who knew that chocolate milk was a recovery drink? We were way ahead of our time, especially if chocolate ice cream qualifies. But most importantly, I'm grateful that I played in a simpler time, a time before sports specialization took hold, a time before when nights and weekends and summers weren't dominated by AAU and club teams, a time when we were able to have summer and weekend jobs, which I'd argue taught us some of life's most valuable lessons, and a time when we got to play basketball during basketball season and softball during softball season. That being said, I like to think that my teammates and I helped to pave the way for the female athletes that came after us. My first year at Trinity was only the third year of the softball program, and we had its first winning season, but we lost in the first round of the NIAC tournament. And the following year, thanks to an influx of incredible athletes, namely Robin, Lisa, Karen, and Kathy, we were 11-1 and won a NIAC championship, which was the highest level of competition available to us at the time. During that time, and for years after, Trinity softball became a regular championship contender. My senior year, after winning the championship at Wheaton College in a harrowing come-from-behind in the bottom of the 7th game, thanks to my giving up so many walks, we were ready to celebrate. That was back in the day, mind you, when the coaches, God bless them, drove the van with our oversized boombox, deafeningly blasting our mixed tapes behind them. After the champagne on the field post-game, our parents, unbeknownst to the coaches, Rick Hazelton, you should cover your ears, helped load coolers of beer into the back of the van. And on our 2-hour drive back to Hartford, we had to stop on the side of the road at least 5 times. With all 13 players messily spilling out of the van and bolting toward the woods each time we stopped. On the other hand, our basketball team had its share of growing pains. I think we won 4 games my freshman year, but through resilience, determination, and hard work, we made it to the NIAC tournament 3 years later. I'm proud of my points and rebounding records, but honestly, it wasn't always pretty. I spent the fall semester of my senior year in Vienna, and I came back to Trinity incredibly out of shape, partially due to a daily visit to the gelato shop that was, fortunately or unfortunately, right across the street from our school. The first game back, I had to score 14 points to hit 1,000. My parents and family had come and brought my junior and senior high school coaches to see the momentous occasion. I remember scoring 2 points in the first half. And I went into the locker room like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. I had the biggest pit in my stomach. And these people came all the way to see me play badly. But luckily, things picked up a bit in the second half, and someone conveniently fouled me when I needed just one more point. On the court or field, we were fierce competitors. We wanted to win for each other. We learned and we grew together, and we knew that success only came out of working collectively. But we also knew how to have fun. Our days and nights were filled with times I'll never forget. On more than a few occasions, we raced out of classes in order to hit Dairy Queen before practice, joking that if we were ever in an accident, the softball team would take a serious hit, losing its pitcher, catcher, first baseman, shortstop, and center fielder in one fell swoop. We were also very attentive of our tan lines, which I don't know if you noticed in those pictures. Thank you, Robin. I remember on our one and only spring training trip, we were lying on the beach, probably after a late night out, and most definitely slathered in baby oil. And the Harvard softball team was right beside us, and they were running wind sprints and practicing sliding into bases. And they beat us the next day. But we were tan. I love that we were able to have that balance of fun and competition, and that we were able to play more than one sport, which isn't quite as easy to do now. Today, those memories that we made both on and off the court and field inevitably lead to stories that make us laugh until our stomachs hurt. And we never fail to tell these stories over and over again when we're together. In closing, my time at Trinity was one of my most favorite chapters of my life. I am beyond grateful to have had the opportunity to represent Trinity on the basketball court and softball field, and to have had the luck and privilege to have called and continue to call these women my friends. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of this journey with me and for celebrating this night together. I appreciate it more than you know. Go Trin. Sorry, it was long.
Great job.